Possession crucial from this. How much longer will the referee allow? Dublin lead by a point. And there's the whistle. It's over. It's over.
Well, hello there and welcome to the RTÉ Hurling Podcast. The Provincial Championships are here, one weekend down and plenty more to go, and a huge amount to get through after the opening weekend and to look forward to next weekend as well. Shane McGrath's with us. Shane, how are you doing?
Good lads, how are you all?
Very good, Shane, and a very happy Rory O'Neill in studio as well. Rory?
I wouldn't say ecstatic, no, but content.
Content
Okay. Might be the word.
Good way to be. Better maybe than Shane. Shane, how are you doing after the weekend? Tipp beaten by Cork. How's the feeling there now a couple of days on? You've had a few days to process it.
We have, and often with these kind of results, it's nearly like someone died rather than a hurling match was lost, but I suppose that's just where we're at in terms of hurling. But I was actually at a blitz today in the school and get chatting to a few good hurling people at the blitzes, and I think we were all under the same opinion that it can only get better. Flat is a word that was used a lot, I suppose, to describe our boys' performance. Just basic errors like, handling errors. Mikey Breen came out and caught the ball 3 times, and as I said to someone today, if someone did it at the blitz today, we'd be giving out to them. It was just all those things, and it was just kind of a culmination of them, especially in the second half. Just being at the game then as well, you can often see more at the game than when you're watching on telly. And what I found was down the left-hand side was where a lot of the damage was done for Cork. So Dara Fitzgibbon, I think, gets off 6 shots in the first quarter, but that was down the left-hand side. William Buckley in the first half, again down the left-hand side. Even Barry Walsh, a lot of his scores down the left-hand side. So I don't know, was that something maybe that Cork went after, to go after that left-hand side of our defence? But that's where a lot of their scores were coming from. And, they pick off 12 points from play from their half-forward line. And, when you look back in the All-Ireland final, lads, say, we would have scored, I think Darragh McCarthy scored 113 that day, with maybe 2-3 points from play. No, John McGrath scored 2-2. I think Jason scored 2 points. And from our whole full forward line, including Darragh McCarthy coming on, so 4 players in that inside line, we got 1 point from play. And I just thought maybe that was interesting enough, in that was it the quality of ball going in wasn't the same. Why wasn't it the same? Maybe it wasn't the same because we didn't have the +1 back there, or the sweeper, as it has been outlawed to call it now, but that's what it is. And when we didn't have that, lads, I thought maybe we found it hard, Rory and Cathal, to build a platform to get that quality ball in. But it was interesting then, Brian Hayes only scored a point from play. I don't think Alan Connolly had a shot until maybe 20-21 minutes gone. Rory, now I might be wrong there. So maybe it was just the same both sides, lads, and that the quality ball going into both full forward lines wasn't the same because you didn't have that opportunity to build it up through the lines, and it was very, it was congested out around the middle. But yeah, I think it will be better from Tipp the next day, Cathal. It has to be.
It has to be,
because, let's be honest, I know we'll touch on, we'll preview the games, but in my honest opinion, Sunday's match in Waterford is a knockout game for Tipp and Waterford. Albeit mathematically, and Rory was only chatting to you last night about this, Cork have done it. They have lost their first 2 games and they have come out on 2 occasions, I think.
Yeah.
But if we have to go,
but it was
Tipperary,
unlikely,
we have to go
Shane.
to Limerick.
Yeah, because you're facing into Limerick still.
If you have to go to Limerick and really get something out of that, it's not a great place to be, to go into the Gaelic grounds. And Waterford obviously still have to play Cork and Limerick as well. So, they're going to be 2 very hard fixtures. So that's why I think Sunday's thing is a knockout for both teams, and we'll chat about it further. But yeah, I just thought it was flat, Cathal. I thought, in my honest opinion now, Rory, I know that it was only 4 points in the difference on the scoreboard, and that's what will go down as the score difference. But in my opinion, it was way more than that, the gap between the 2 teams. It could have been a double figures. I have it down as 7 frees missed throughout the game. So, they're probably a thing, does Tim O'Mahony or does Mark Coleman hit them? Percentage-wise, I'd say Mark Coleman probably has a better return from the long-distance frees maybe than Tim O'Mahony does. But, again, I don't know that. I'm just judging on previous games, watching him hit frees long range. So, with all that being said, and all the performance around the field, like if you give the whole Tipp team call, if you give them a mark out of 10, it's probably going to be 5.5 or 6 to be generous. If you give the whole Cork team a mark out of 10, it probably would be up around the 8. And I think that would kind of just sums it up for me that Cork were by far the better team. I think they just kind of switched off for the last particular 10, 15 minutes. And other than that, I think this would have been a much wider gap on the scoreboard. And Cork fully deserved that of the victory, anyway, in my opinion.
Can I ask you 2 questions, Shane? Number 1, why didn't Darragh McCarthy start the game? And number 2, how do we explain the word flat, lacking energy was another thing that we heard. That sort of lethargy that was in Tipp's play, considering it was nearly the near perfect run-in from the end of the league, pretty competitive league in general. They got some good things and some bad things. And the age profile of the Tipp team is it's a young team. So I've just found it, I'm at a loss to explain as to why the performance was as flat as it was. And I don't know whether it's something that you might have be able to put your finger on. And then why wasn't Darragh McCarthy chosen from the start? Was he carrying a knock or something?
I think with the Darragh McCarthy thing is that he was carrying a bang on his shoulder from the Kilkenny game. So maybe they felt he wasn't 100% to start and that they'd have Jason there for the freeze, Rory. So that would tick that box in terms of a free taker, right? And I think because Stefan Tobin has hurled really well against Waterford in the league, has been hurling really well for our 20s. He's playing again tonight now for the 20s. And I'd say maybe Liam Cahill felt, from being a former minor and under 20s manager and under 21 manager, maybe he felt, this lad is going well. He's in great form. He's in great form in inter-county stuff, albeit under 20. He's done well for us in the league. This could be a great opportunity for him to go and kind of express himself. But like Robert Downey he just ate him alive, really. There's no other way of saying it.
A tough day for him now.
Yeah, it's a tough day. And even I was very near him now, where I was sitting in the stand, and Stefan and Robert Downey were their zone of the field was very close to us there in the first half. And even the physical difference, the height, physical strength. At one stage, Robert Downey just kind of flicked him away, really, just get out of my way kind of thing. And that's years of experience that Robert Downey has that Stefan Tobin will get eventually.
Yeah.
To go to the flatness thing, there's not you can put your finger on it. Now, this is my honest opinion on it, not to be making excuses, because I suppose there's a great saying that in life you either have success or excuses, but you can't have both. So we probably have a lot of excuses, but we didn't win. The success was with Cork. So maybe this is it, that the likes of Ronan, Mikey Breen, Willie Connors, these lads haven't seen a whole pile of game time. So you take Willie, for example, now. If I stand to be correct here, but that's Willie's first appearance since he got sent off in the league against Limerick. Right? So that was in February, that match. So a lot of those lads, Ronan, Mikey Breen, these lads, they haven't a lot of game time in the legs. And I'd say the other day was a big shock or a wake-up call for a lot of them, that where Cork are at in terms of their match fitness coming off the back of a league final, and where a lot of our lads were at that hadn't played a lot of competitive stuff. But they're obviously going well in training and stuff, but I think a lot of them didn't have a lot of work done in a competitive environment, Rory. And I think that was a major factor the other day. Now, albeit some of the substitutions, I'm talking to a lot of people, I wouldn't have taken off John McGrath as early as he was taken off. I felt that he's always a threat, Rory. And that was probably a head scratcher. But look, that's easy for us to talk sitting above in the stand. But I suppose we made a lot of subs in a small space of time. Ye took until the 59th minute to make your first sub in the form of Diarmuid Healy. And, I maybe all those things, there was a lot of chopping and changing going on with our lads in the space of probably less than 10 minutes with our 5 subs coming on. And but look, again, they're all excuses, and you as I said, it's excuses or success, and just there can be no excuses now the next day. The only thing is, lads, a week is a very short time to try and remedy it.
It is for both teams, for both Tipp and Waterford, isn't it?
Yeah. Making the raft of changes probably isn't the answer, or tactically or structurally or how we want to set up. I think for me, this will come down to who wants to win this more now Sunday. I think that's what it's going to come down to, because it could take 3-4 weeks of training to get right what went wrong for Tipp and Waterford at the weekend, but you only have a few days. You've two get-togethers. That's what you had. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see how much change, if any, takes place. I hope personally not much anyway.
And Shane, I mean, I know, look, you were unfortunate in that you never got an opportunity to hurl in the round robin. But you would have played in backdoor hurling where you might have had games coming quick, thick and fast in quick succession. What can a manager actually do on the field on Tuesday, Thursday with such a short turnaround?
I'd imagine, like, for any team that lost the first round in Munster or Leinster, it really has to come back to the players now.
Okay.
And I'd say, like, to come back to them to say, look, lads, like, that wasn't good enough. And there'll be a lot of leaders in all those dressing rooms. Kilkenny's dressing room, Tipp's dressing room, Waterford's dressing room, even the Dublin dressing room maybe, because Offaly, they get such a brilliant performance, should have won the game. And I'm sure, like, they have to say, like, we can say that didn't work or this didn't work, but, like, how many Cork lads, were hit physically hard? How many Galway lads were hit physically hard? Not many, I'd say. Like, the handling errors. Like, we went away, our puckouts in the first half were good. We went away from that in the second half. That really is on the players to try and remedy a lot of those things. And they'll know, they won't have to look externally or talk to too many people outside to realise what went wrong. They'll know themselves what went wrong, and they will know what needs to be put right. And there would have been one get-together, would have been a recovery session. I'm sure they're probably trained tonight or trained last night and will train Friday night. And, like, I think it's just over. It's over to the players now. The management can say, look, lads, maybe we might set up this way or that way. But for the players, like, they're going to have to grab this now by the scruff of the neck and say, this is on us, lads. We got to get this right. Because if they don't, as I said, lads, I think whoever loses down in Waterford Sunday is gone.
They're going to be in a tight spot for sure. Let's just touch on Cork, Rory, from their performance point of view. Like, some of the stats from the weekend, I think Tipp had 8 more turnovers. They conceded 7 more points than Cork did off turnover, 17 points to 10. Tipp had 18 turnovers in attack. Does that point to a better defensive display from Cork the last day, would you say?
Yeah, it does. Are they as pleasing on the eye as they would have been in the previous regime? No.
Not scoring as many goals either.
No, like, there is a level of pragmatism, I think, with the incumbent management that I think a lot of people, much like Arsenal actually,
don't make that comparison.
Yeah, win the title and no one will care how you get there and what kind of style you've done it in. Justin McCarthy would be somebody that I would have had a huge amount of time for. Like, one of the best hurling books you'll ever read. And just one of these gifted, genius hurling brains. Just, Justin would always famously say, winning isn't enough, you must win with style. Winning with style is what matters. But I don't think Cork people will care a huge amount about that. I think there was a bit more structure around the defensive shape. Didn't really cough up a goal chance until late on, and that was a little bit of a dribbler. I'd be disappointed a little bit in the goalkeeper there. Not to be always harping on about poor Patrick, but the shot came from a long way out. It's also along the ground, which means it's losing speed. But the game had lost a huge amount of its shape by then, as Shane mentioned, in relation to the raft of substitutions that had come in. So it was a sort of a false contest by the time we got to the last 10, 12 minutes. Big thing for me was, they were giving away frees, fair enough. But I don't think Tipp scored from play until the 63rd minute of the match, wasn't it?
And they'd
7 minutes to go in the second half.
And only 1-9 from play overall.
And 1-9 in total. So it shows that despite, I suppose, some of the narrative going into the game, that Cork are still operating largely with a kind of a 1-7 personnel-wise that have already been through 2 All-Ireland finals and failed. There's a slightly different dynamic. I think Joyson at full back is it a solution that they might have stumbled upon by virtue of the fact that poor old Darragh O'Leary got injured? I'll tell you this much, he won't be coming out of there now, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And the Downies going out to the half-back line, I think, gives that a bit of beef that, they're good in the air, they're good hurlers, they're physical, they're aggressive, they're Northsiders, so it's not surprising, right? Yeah, so like, but they're different to watch. I mean, the Cork created goal chance. I think William Buckley had a half of one where Sean Stack had waved an advantage. Maybe he could have taken a shot on goal. He stuck it over the bar, I think, in the first half. But other than that, not really. Like, so there's a sort of a payoff that comes with the sort of pragmatic nature to the way they're playing now. I think to a large extent, given the demons and the issues coming out of last year's All-Ireland final, the single most important thing from a Cork perspective last Sunday was to win.
I agree with you, yeah.
And just get a win. I think that will also, and we'll get onto it, I think that the win last Sunday, and I think it was more convincing, I agree with Shane, I think it was more convincing than a 4-point win. I think the win last Sunday will allow a little bit more freedom into their play come this Sunday. And that's why I think you will see another big performance from them, and maybe an even better one.
And the reaction of the Cork players after the win suggested that it did mean a huge amount to them. Yeah.
It was just sort of a relief. It wouldn't be necessarily they'd be going around the dressing room high-fiving each other, but it was just, a little bit of just quiet satisfaction. It's a job done. And like Shane mentions it, and I agree with him completely in that this Sunday in Walsh Park is borderline knockout, because sometimes people tend to forget what the head-to-head can do. The head-to-head is a huge thing, particularly in Munster. Like for instance, for Tipperary to get ahead of Cork now, to knock Cork out of the pecking order, they're going to have to get at least 2 results from their final 3 games, which includes Limerick, by the way. So it's like the defeat is more than 2 points. There's a lot that goes with that, which is why I think there is a lot more pressure now in Walsh Park this weekend than there is in Páirc Uí Chaoimh.
Yeah, and that's on Sunday afternoon. Talk to us then, Shane, about the Waterford mindset heading into that. Performed pretty well against Clare, pushed them all the way. The scoreline there, probably no more than the game in Thurles. A little bit unfair maybe to Waterford in that Clare bashed in that goal so late on when Waterford were pushing for a goal down the other end to try and level things up. But Waterford will probably fancy this now on Sunday on home turf.
I think they will, yeah, because their kind of tactic call is like, well, the other day was anyway that they went route 1, right? And it works well for them. And because it worked so well against Clare the other day, they didn't have to deviate from it, right? They didn't have to go a different way. So they were going route 1 on top of Sean Walsh. And he was very, very good at that full forward. Now, if you go back to the league game between Tipp and Waterford, Sean Walsh played a similar role. He was actually marking Ronan, I believe, and actually did very, very well in the league game. So I'm sure Waterford are going to look at that to say, let's go after this again. And I think you'll see a lot of long, high ball in the top of Sean Walsh. Stephen Bennett, obviously, immense again. Like obviously, the worry there is there an over dependence on Stephen Bennett? With what he notched up, was it 312? I think he notched up.
Yep.
So, but like say Waterford, they kept tipping away. It was a very, very high scoring game. But Waterford, I suppose, they found it very hard in the league, Carl, because they just never had everybody. And the other day was as strong as they could have been with who was available. Albeit Conor Prunty is still a massive, massive loss. Because if you take Mark Fitzgerald the other day, he gives most of the day trying to tie down Shane O'Donnell, right? And doesn't do a bad job. Can you imagine if you could have him out in the half-back line? I'd be happy now to see him back in full-back this weekend coming. And I'm sure he'd be trying to maybe tie down John McGrath or Jason if they're in there, But imagine the influence he could have from centre-back that he does have from full-back. The frees he wins. He's a real leader on the field for him. Jamie Barron looked good. I thought Déise looked really sharp. I think he popped over 4 points. So that's going to be another, who's going to pick up Déise? What way are we going to go? I think you're going to see from Waterford, as I said, they're going to go long. I think they're going to go long. I think Billy Nolan will be lumping ball down in top of Sean Walsh because it worked so well for him against Clare. Look at all their goals. Look at the way the ball was breaking. Look at Stephen Bennett's goal from play. It's a long ball in, takes a shot, gets the second ball. Sean Walsh winning the penalty. The goals in the second half, it was long balls in that just causing consternation. Now, it was the same for Clare. Clare went long as well, especially when they put Peter Duggan in there, and it worked very well. So I think that's the way Waterford are going to set up. I think they fully believe they can win this match. I don't think they're going to fear Tipp. I don't think they're going to go at Tipp the way Cork went at him in terms of pace. But as I said, Carl, I think they'll go at Tipp in terms of let's get the ball and let's just get it in and let's just see what comes of it, because it did work well for him against Tipp in the league, and like, to be honest, it worked very well for him against Clare the other day. If Waterford scored 4 goals Sunday, Carl, they'll win the match. Clare scored 2:33. I was actually really impressed with Clare. I thought, like, say, as a panel now, I thought they looked really, really strong. Sean Rinn, like, would be maybe a lesser known, but again, got to work with him there in Fitzgibbon hurling. Absolutely brilliant lad. Got so physically strong. Scored 5 points from play. Dermot Stretch is coming on. You've Tony Kelly not having to be at his brilliant best, and they're still notching up 2:33. I think that's kind of maybe a signal for the rest of us, like, to kind of say, hey, this Clare team, they're good. When they have everyone like Waterford, when they have everyone really, really good. Waterford in 4:21 come out on the losing side. It's a killer, like, isn't it, lads?
Yeah.
You know?
What about Clare defensively, Shane? Like, can they just go and outscore everybody here and make a big dent in the championship, or do they need to shore up defensively?
Sure they do. Like, I mean, they can't be conceding 4 goals again. It just can't happen again. Like, but like, I suppose when you see a scoreline like that, rather than maybe looking at how good the forwards were, the first thing a lot of people will look at is how bad maybe the backs were. But again, because of the tactic, the way both teams played, Colin, and I might be wrong here, like, it was a bit of a throwback in the amount of ball that just went in Route 1. There was a bit of consternation caused in both full back lines. And that's the way both teams went. I think it was a bit of a throwback to, let's just get it in. Let's see what happens. And when they did, as a result of that thing, she got a massively high scoring game. 2:33 to 4:21. It must be some kind of record, Rory, is it? No? Championship hurling amount of scores? Or
I think somebody did say, as a combined total, I think it is the record now, is it? I think that's what I think I might have seen that as
and do you know what? It could have been more, because Billy Nolan had an unbelievable game.
I was just going to say, that was my question. That was my next question for Shane, right? So there's 2 questions for you. Number 1, Stephen Bennett surely must have a record for Man of the Match awards on losing teams. I don't know anybody who's picked up as many Man of the Match awards from a losing team position. It's incredible, you know, and it just goes to show the level of consistency. But is Billy Nolan the best goalkeeper in the country? Maybe Nicky Quaid. No, I'd say Nicky Quaid would probably have something to say about that. But
Nicky Quaid, actually, and like, to guess, I was up in Galway Saturday and we were talking about that, and for me, one of the best goalies in the country was actually a sub the other day for Kilkenny. Yeah, like, who's the best goalie in the country? Yeah, it's still Nicky Quaid. Like, I think it's still Nicky Quaid. While from puck outs, from his overall organisational skills, from his shot stopping.
But Nolan is something else.
Billy Nolan was brilliant the other day. His puck outs were brilliant. He made 2 or 3 absolutely top class saves, and he's really, really comfortable in the position now. You can see the way he's talking to lads. You know, the way he's coming out to get a quick 1-2. And that's why I'm telling you, he's going to be massive for Waterford at the weekend. I'd say if there's a bit of a breeze there, he could nail a point. I think you'll see a lot of maybe 1-2s with him. Yeah. And I suppose it's hard on him too, lads. And I was guilty of this myself now. We've given years in Waterford talk about Stephen O'Keefe and how good he was, and he is, how good he still is. He's actually up there as one of the best goalies in the country too, Rory, even though we only see him in club action now. But I'm sure that probably irked a few of them, that we just gave so much time talking about Stephen O'Keefe being in there that we never really gave these guys much airtime. But Billy Nolan was absolutely immense the other day. His puck outs, as I said, his shot stopping. But I just think they're going to play to their strengths, and one of their strengths is Billy Nolan and the long ball and the ability he has of just taking a half back line out of it and just hitting that full forward line. And I'd say we're going to see loads of that on Sunday down in Walsh Park.
Yeah, should be an absolute cracker on Sunday. A huge amount on the line. Ever Quilligan had a decent game the last day too, by the way, for Clare. Give us a bit, Rory, on Cork and Limerick this weekend. Now, Cork's mindset heading into this.
Well, I suppose, as I mentioned earlier, like, the first thing that you can nearly always be certain of, I don't really remember the last time Cork didn't perform in Páirc Uí Chaoimh in a big championship match. They've been beaten in Páirc Uí Chaoimh plenty of times. I think they're beaten by Clare 2 years ago. So teams are capable of going down in Limerick more so than anybody. I think some people were mentioning over the weekend that they'd nearly prefer to be in Cork's situation, having a championship match under their belt. But, you know, look, it was a tough game, mentally taxing, physically taxing. big turnaround now to this weekend. Another full house. I don't know, is it 9 or 10 championship sellouts? And we're talking the biggest stadiums in Ireland that Cork have managed. Like, it's incredible. The finance that they've been delivering for the GAA as well shouldn't be forgotten, considering the financial plight the county board find themselves in at times, and the help that the governing body should be acknowledging with all of these full houses, by the way, and not take it for granted. But I think, like, selection again, do I see any changes? I don't. I think he'll probably go with largely the same team. I think he's got a couple of things he needs to figure out. Long range free taking, I would give the job to Barry Walsh. Barry Walsh is an unbelievable free taker. Unbelievable. Now,
Come here, Rory. I have a question for you now.
Go for it.
What's wrong with Decky Dalton at the moment? And I don't see him tagged out there the other day. I
Didn't
see him
make
on the
26.
Like, yeah.
I just don't think Ben fancies him, Shane. I just don't think Ben fancies him. I think the type of player Ben is looking for, you know, it's just that somebody that is John, which I think is a little unfair on him. It's just
he'd be some long range free taker.
Sure, he is the long range free taker. He had been the long range free taker up until this year.
Like, is he worth? I know this is a hard question to answer now. Is Decky Dalton worth being on the field or as an option when you're missing 6 out of 7 frees you're missing are long range frees? Is he worth 6 points in frees from long range frees?
I don't think. I just don't get a sense that there'll be any passengers on the Ben O'Connor team. That will any luxury players. Look, we saw what happened with Patrick Organ at the end of last year. I wouldn't be all that certain that was Patrick's decision. Seamus Harnedy was what, sub number 4. Got what?
Yeah, he came on a minute 70. I have it here.
Minute 70. Like, one of the things that you'd have to give Ben huge credit for is the likes of the Hugh O'Connors, the Alan Walshes. Páirc Power got minutes, which is a massive story given the awful injuries that poor fella's after having. Blooding William Buckley, Barry Walsh. Like, Ben is very much, you know, we're moving on now with new players and new blood and not going with the same again. And, like, I don't know whether or not Tim my understanding, and I haven't seen Newtown in action for a while, but I've not feeling Jamie Collin, if you can remember Jamie Collin.
Yeah.
I think Jamie Collin is the long range free taker for Newtown. I don't even think Tim takes them for his club. So I wouldn't see anything wrong with handing Barry Walsh the job. That young fella is going to probably play for Cork for the next 15 years and has an unbelievable level of maturity about him.
Yeah. Just on the physicality thing, Cathal, I know we want to move on from Cork now, but I like, remember we were asking there a few weeks ago, like, how did I feel about Cork physically and stuff, and I was saying that they're probably as strong, if not stronger, than most teams. I'm telling you now, if you were there and I was right beside them doing their warm-up, how physically strong Kieran Joyce is. I don't think people realise how physically strong he is. How big and strong Robert Downey is. How strong Tommy O'Connell is. How physically strong Barry Walsh is. William Buckley's a small man now, but is still a little tank of a man. Alan Connolly, Brian Hayes. I'm telling you, you're talking about physicality. Dara Fitz even. How physically strong he has become. Like, you're talking about terms of physicality, and if that's a worry for Cork, that's not a worry. And the lads coming off the bench, Diarmuid Healy, Shamey Hardy, Paddy Power, Alan Walsh, the size of Alan Walsh.
Alan Walsh could be a bolter, Shane. There's one.
Alan
one
Walsh,
now.
I'd have to get a stepladder to go up and ask him a question.
I think he's about 6'5". He's a big unit, and he's very good in the air. He could force his way into the team. Just you know, he's a very good player and scored.
Yeah,
he scored on Sundays. But anyway, I think, look, either way, the one thing I would say about this fixture, and again, Shane, I'll be up very interested in your view. I got a sense last year and the year before, Cork and Limerick are slightly, in my view, they obsess about each other a little bit too much. And on both occasions, again, in my view, someone else came in and stole their lunch, right? I think they need to stop obsessing about each other. Now, that doesn't mean that they're not going to go out and flake 7 shades of different types of stuff out of each other this Sunday, which they probably will, and I think it'll be a superb contest. But Yeah, I just think, there's a bigger picture, and regardless of what happens in a round robin game where Limerick have 3 more goals after this Sunday coming and Cork already have 2 points in the bag, I wouldn't be reading a huge amount into whatever the result pans out one way or another. The one thing I know we will get is an outstanding contest, because Limerick do not perform, and Cork at home in a full Páirc Uí Chaoimh will absolutely bring it.
Yeah, that one's on television on Sunday afternoon. Shane, can you just talk to me about the overall shape of Munster now? I know Patrick Horgan was on the Sunday game on Sunday night, suggested that Tipp are in a bit of trouble now in terms of getting out of the provincial round robin. What do you think now at this stage?
Yeah, he's right. Yeah, he's right to say that. We are, to be honest, because I suppose we didn't perform, but it's not like we can't perform. We can perform. We just didn't perform. So he's right in what he said. We are in a bit of bother, and we will be in a bit of bother until 6:30 Sunday evening, and then you could be in right bother then. So it'd be interesting to see where they are. But where do I see Munster? Say, I still think now this might sound ridiculous, but it doesn't sound ridiculous now. But the best team in Munster haven't played yet, right?
Yeah.
And we're going to see them now on Sunday, and they're playing the second best team in Munster. So you couldn't have asked for any more. With the way Cork played, they'll take great confidence from it. Their style of play, the way they played. Relief is a word I would use. I presume Les Dara Fitzgibbon is getting a month's suspension for what he did to that poor young lad after the match.
Well, he's giving him a signed jersey.
The poor kid.
Look. It was a
total accident.
And I had to laugh at. Well, I didn't laugh, but
and
I just had to say,
Noel ran in like a shot. In fairness,
the fatherly figure of Noel in to make sure the young lad was okay. Fair play to him. So. That's where I think you're going to have such a humdinger there on Sunday between the two of them. So people are going to change their mind about their 3 now, Kyle. Obviously, yeah. I'm gonna stick with what I said before. I'm going to stick with those 3, right? And
so that means Cork. That means Cork won't get out in your eyes still.
God Almighty, right? Okay,
they still have a bit of work to do,
I'll stick to it. I'll still stick to it. Okay.
Okay.
So So Cork are coming off the back, as I said, really good performance. There's sometimes it takes a victory or it takes something big to really, really get buy-in from everybody. Do you know what I mean? Like in sport, sometimes it takes something, a big result or something to say, do you know what? Yeah, the way we're doing it is the right way. The panel he picked is the right panel. And I think that's what they got massively now, Rory and Cathal, from the other day. That say, while people might have been humming and hawing, me included, about Decky Dalton not being in the panel. Now when you play like that and when you get a buzz like that and when you know that you won a game by 4 points, but there's still so much more in you. There's still so much more in that Cork group and it's coming. I think it sets it up unreal, and I'm sure Limerick, I'm not sure if John Kiley was there now or not Sunday. I didn't see, well, there was a few helicopters actually flying around Turtle's forehand. I don't know if he was in one of them with JP, but I'm sure he's looking at Rory too, saying, yeah, we can beat this Cork team. And I'm sure Ben O'Connor is saying, we won the match, job done, relief was a big thing, and still much more in them. So it is a hard one to call there now, Limerick and Cork Sunday. If I had to say, I do think Limerick will win the match, and I do think Tipp will win the match. So there you go. Put all your money on Cork and Waterford double at the weekend.
Would that have 4 teams on 2 points after round 1? It would, wouldn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, Cork 1 win, Limerick 1 win,
Tipp 1 win, and Clare 1 win.
Tipp 1 win and Clare 1 win. Yeah.
Jeez. Class.
Yeah, it is class. The Munster Championship, really enjoyable first weekend. Let's talk Leinster. Some unbelievable
which
games.
Was fantastic
there.
as well.
You and I had the good fortune of working on
Dublin,
Offaly, Dublin. But first, maybe let's go. We need to talk about Kilkenny. I mean, I don't think anybody. I know that Galway hammered them in the league, but I think
Shane is spoiling.
already. So Galway. The fact that Galway hammered them in the league, I think, made a lot of people think that it just wouldn't happen again, because that doesn't happen to Kilkenny, but it did, Shane.
Oh, it did, and I tell you, okay, so I was at it. First of all, Salt Hill, it's a lovely, lovely place to walk around, to get ice cream, but it's a terrible place to be driving a car around and trying to get out of it. It's, oh my Lord. But anyway, maybe that was a factor. So I was up there at the league match when they got the hammered, and I thought the other day, now when they came back there the other day, I thought, oh look, they're going to be coming all guns blazing, and it possibly possibly could have been worse because it was championship hurling. Just the nature of the performance. And I heard a good quote. Someone said, Kilkenny are trying to do what everybody else is doing, but without a plan or any structure. As in regard, trying to work a ball through the lines, maybe hit space inside. Galway they're sticking with the tactic. It's one person inside and they're alternating around and everybody else comes out the field. And that caused Kilkenny a lot of bother, particularly if you look for the Rory Burke goal, it's isolated 1v1 inside, takes on the man, and there's a lot of space there, and it's obviously a great finish. And then they have Jason Rabbit would alternate, Aaron Niall and Conor Whelan sometimes. And Kilkenny found it hard to deal with. And then when John Donnelly got sent off, and rightly, he deserved to be sent off, whether he meant it or not, he deserved the red card. And the breeze that was there, lads, and I suppose they found it very hard to work the ball with the breeze. So Kilkenny scored 9 points with the breeze, 5 points from play. And they physically could not get the ball past Galway's 45 in the second half. And the reliance was still on going route 1 to TJ. And when they went route 1 to TJ, which I found interesting, because a lot of time the Kilkenny tactic was over and back a few times, try and maybe go to one line, but it often was kind of going backwards rather than forwards. The few times they went long to TJ, he actually either won the ball or broke the ball. And TJ still comes out being their top scorer the other day, 1-1 from play, and I had him down as 1-8 overall. And Owen Cody, in fairness, 2 points for play. But I'm sure there was a frustration with them in particular, those two lads, because it just didn't happen for the other forwards. It was Mossy Jones, he just wasn't at it at all. It was one of his poorer games for his standard. Point for play, Liam Moore, point for play. John Donnelly got red carded, was kind of anonymous up to that. Garrod Dunn starts the game, didn't go well at all. I felt the frustration, lads, of Owen Cody, even in the second half. At one time, he just kind of turned around and the arms were out. I don't know what he said, but it was kind of more along the lines come on, what are we doing? You know what I mean? And it looked void of kind of a structure or a game plan. Now, will they be better this weekend? I 100% believe they will. No more so than they were against Tipp after Galway trounced them in the league. But it just looked all over the place, even on the sideline, all right? Where you had lads going down, putting on helmets, standing on the sideline for about 10 minutes, still not being brought on, going back up into the subs bench, and you could feel the body language from them, because when you're doing the radio on Salt Hill, you're in the stand, the lads are only maybe 10 or 12 rows down from you, and you can get that sense of what is going on here. I actually felt they didn't know. I felt they didn't know what the plan was, who was coming on, who was coming off, structure-wise, what are we doing? And it was probably, as championship performances go in term for Kilkenny, one of their poorest in a long time. Now, can they perform? Are they able to perform? Yes, 100%. Will they be better next weekend? 100%. But I asked a few of the Kilkenny lads, the Radiohead lads, or not lads in the band now, but lads doing the radio for Kilkenny. And I'm saying, why is Owen Murphy not starting? And I said to him beforehand, if you were to pick a goalkeeper in the league now, lads, Aidan Tallis' name is probably thereabouts. But at the end of the day, if Owen Murphy is right to play and fit to play, I'm playing Owen Murphy. And I think Aidan Tallis, maybe because they like to go short a lot now, I think Aidan Tallis maybe gets the nod because he's been consistent in the league, very good, pinging balls short. But for me, I'm putting Owen Murphy in between the sticks, just for his experience, the way he can talk to lads, the way he can shout to lads. At one stage there, it could have been David Blanchfield was back, then Paddy Deegan goes back, but there was no kind of fluidity, lads, if that makes sense, as to who was actually doing what job. So it just looked void of any kind of structure or game plan for me in terms of Kilkenny, or even on the sideline as well.
Can I ask you, Shane, just one on the Kilkenny side of things, and we'll get to Galway in a second, but one thing that stood out to me was at the start, I just expected Kilkenny to bring a real aggression and intensity to things. I think Jason Rabbit had the ball under the terrace side, and a couple of Kilkenny lads went in to tackle him, but and usually you would expect the Kilkenny lads just to wrap him up and turn him over, or at least drive him back. He managed to find a way through, and I think Páirc Mannion ended up clipping over his score, but just that, I felt, summed up Kilkenny insofar as they were just that little bit off it, and not at the level of intensity maybe or aggression that you would have expected given the hammering they got up there in the league.
Yeah, look, and even small things summed it up for me, Cathal. I agree with you. I think it was he and Kenny got the ball at one stage of the second half, and he put it on the hurley. He looked up, there was nothing on. He put it back on the hurley. He nearly borderlined over, carried it. The crowd were getting on top of him. Same thing happened with Killian Dyle. He looked up, but there was nothing on, and there was no option even, like.
Yeah.
Because, Galway had the +1 and they were able to squeeze in because, they had numerical advantage. They were able to squeeze Kilkenny. Kilkenny just found it so hard to work that ball out. And the day was nearly summed up. Killian Dyle took a sideline and he hit it and just went straight back over the sideline. And that just kind of summed up their day. Nothing went right, but they didn't look like they had any structure or game plan to try and put things right when things were going so wrong. And like, from Galway point of view, Galway really impressive. Like, again, Aaron Nyland really, really good in the freeze, 2 points from play. Conor Whelan, albeit he gets second yellow, scores a point, but works really, really hard. Jason Rabbit 1-1. Rory Burke 2-2 from play. Like, they had scores everywhere. Like, what summed it up for me was Ronan Glennon was playing cornerback for Galway, and he scored more from play than the entire half forward line for Kilkenny did. And that kind of summed it up the way the game was going. And also 325 Galway score. And if there's a thing that they're kind of maybe keeping in the bank, Cathal Mannion doesn't score at all. So I found that very interesting, even going through the notes, like to say that a lad who potentially can be hurler of the year, as I've said, he doesn't get on the score sheet. And they got a massive, massive bounce from their bench. Darren Neary 2 points, Tom Monaghan a point, Colin Malloy a point, Conor Cooney 2 points, and Evan Nyland comes on and takes the freeze. As I said before, I'd say the free taking competition in the Nyland household, but just between the two of them, let alone the rest of the country, is unreal, I'd say, because Aaron is so good and then his brothers come on trying to take him as well. So yeah, really impressive from Galway. And Kilkenny, if it was a quiet bus going home the league, I'd say it was a very, very quiet bus going home from the championship game. You've seen it yourselves, lads. You see the way, no matter what is going on with Wexford, if they lost to
they were beaten by Westmeath
Iceland in a hurling match. Yeah. If Wexford lost to Iceland in a hurling match, the following week they're playing Kilkenny, they'd probably go out and they'd nearly beat. So that's the way Wexford are looking at this weekend too.
Geez, we're going to the Iceland County Board are going to be sending us emails. The Wexford, I think, have won 4 of the last 6 championship matches against Kilkenny, but I think only once was in Nolan Park. Yeah. In a funny sort of way, though, is it good that Kilkenny have a game so quickly?
Not only is it good that the game is coming so quickly, I think it's good that it's a quality opponent. I think, like, if they were left to stew on that by then having to go out and possibly play Kildare won't be at their level, let's be perfectly honest. They'll win that game comfortably enough. I think the fact that it is an opponent that has caused them huge issues in the past, there's obviously a huge rivalry down in that part of the country in terms of a hurling rivalry. But like, there was a couple of things, like, I watched the game just before we came on, and it was level until the black card penalty. And a lot of the things that you would associate with Kilkenny, that sort of commitment, aggression, work rate, spirit, as the famous Brian Cody used to say, like, I didn't necessarily see that was void in any way. But it just seemed to collapse so quickly. It's a very un-Kilkenny-like thing to happen, whereby we lose a black card, penalty goes in, start of the second half, get a man sent off down to 13, and the whole thing just caved in like a house of cards. And that is, I have not seen that before from a Kilkenny team, and it was it's a little bit worrying from their point of view, I suppose. Look, you shown me a piece there, and I about Andy Comerford again, pining after players that are out in Australia. I think that's a bit of a fool's errand now if you're going to be crying about fellas that you don't have. Yeah, I think in fairness to I got the sense from their body language that the players are playing for the current management. I don't think that's an issue. But I just don't know if they have the kind of quality that Kilkenny teams would have had in the past. And the other thing that I would say is, one of the things that was very striking about Galway is, like, we spoke about energy, we spoke about fitness, we spoke about zip and buzz and just the pace that Galway are playing their hurling with now, the amount of legs that they're after injecting into the team. I think the boost that's given, the Conor Whelans and the Dahi Burks and the Mannions and the Glennons of this world, I think they have really got a buzz off these young lads coming in around them. And I think Galway are going to be a handful an absolute handful, not only in Leinster, but beyond.
Yeah, I think they will think the exact same themselves. They play Offaly this weekend, Galway, and as we mentioned just at the start of our Leinster chat, the Offaly Dublin game was absolutely great crack. It was an absolute cracker. Like, it was just brilliant.
It was a brilliant game of hurling. And I'll tell you this much, and I'm going to throw it out there, Cathal, and I love both your views, but I think, and not only do I think it's desirable, I think 4 points for a goal is inevitable now. I think it has to come in. I don't know what you would be afraid of in trying it. And had it been in, for instance, on Saturday night, for what was one of the, best games of hurling in Leinster that I've seen for a while, Offaly win the game. But I definitely think 4 points for a goal has to happen. It's like, we're starting to see, like, the game has changed. Hurling has changed a lot, right? There's a lot more stop-start nature. Handpass. Like, the first question to ask, there's a simple question to ask to begin all of this. Do you believe that the game should be a possession-based game, or do you believe that the game is a game of contests, right? Now, if you believe that it is in, let's say, the Knurk philosophy, handpass, strike over the bar, puck out, handpass, strike over the bar, that's fine, no problem. That's how the game has evolved, no issue with that. But you do have to try and incentivize a situation whereby you're going to want to see more goals. If we get into a situation, and this will probably happen again this weekend, Cork and Limerick, I'm not too sure if either of them are going to go hunting goals. This could be very similar to what we saw in Thurles last Sunday, 33 points to 29 or something along those lines. Now, that's not to say that goals are lacking. I mean, we are seeing lots of goals. The problem is the value is just not there in the way that it used to be. Clare Waterford is a perfect example. We saw 6 goals in that match. But on 3 of the occasions of the first 4 Waterford goals, Tony Kelly had the ball over the bar within about 30 seconds down the other end, thereby wiping out 33% of the goal rush that we'll have just witnessed. The All-Ireland hurling final in 1999, right, which isn't all that long ago. I was on the terrace, so it can't be that long ago, right? No, I'm only joking, I am old. That game finished 13-12.
Yep.
13 points to 12. It was a bad day, fair enough, but 13-12. Every point, there was a premium on it. There has been a level of inflation. Points don't carry the same value that they used to, because now teams can bang over 25, 29, 30, sometimes 30 odd points. As a result, I believe that goals then have become devalued, and the only way, if you're looking at it in pure economics, is you increase the value of a goal as well. I think it would have a big impact in terms of creating a few more contests. I think it would add to the aesthetics of the game. I think it would improve the product, if you want to call it that. I think it's very important as well, from a hurling point of view, to make the game attractive to watch for people. We've got to be careful here. It can be very, very stop-start. Look at the stats. For example, on Sunday Cork Tipp, 30, what was it? We had 40 shots for one team and 34 for another, which is 74 shots. So that's 74 times the ball is dead. And there was 35 frees, 17 and 18 either side. So it was over 100 times. That doesn't include line balls. That doesn't include injuries, stoppages, Hawkeyes, all of those. I just think that it's something to think about in a much more concrete fashion. Is there anybody in Croke Park doing that? I would doubt it. Are they going to imply...
They've set up the new committee, haven't they? Or they're in the process of doing that.
Yeah, but, to my mind, this is the easiest, lowest hanging fruit that you're ever going to get. And it would be the obvious starting point, 4 points for a goal. I think it would be absolutely something to try in next year's league. You say it at the start, it's the same rule for everyone, and let's see what kind of trends emerge.
Okay. Shane, what do you think?
I probably wouldn't be for the 4 point goal, no. I wouldn't, like, I'd actually love to see 2 points for a sideline. That's probably taken away the value of the goal even more now. But I just think you have the 2 point there arc for the football. I wonder if it was a sideline from the 45 out, could you give 2 points for it? I think maybe, lads, I don't know, the 4 point goal the biggest problem, and I wasn't sure about this before, but you were saying hand passing. I don't know, like it's been well talked about now, but I think the hand passing it's just non-existent now, and like it's a hard one for rest, because if they just stamp down on the early doors in the first few plays and just blow them, and they try and put a bit of a bit more of an emphasis on that, it has to be, a clear strike in action. But I just think there's no hand passing really taking place now, to be honest, nowadays, lads, in my opinion. And I kind of said something before, maybe I just was blasé about it, just saying it is what it is, but just watching the games again and just being at 2 of the games myself and watching the other games, there probably is no hand passing taking place, to be honest, nowadays. And so it's a hard one to police that. The other idea I like now, right, is that, and I know that the new hurling committee has been set up, but the idea has been thrown around of if it is a short puck out, that it can only be short outside the 45. So that your shortest puck out is outside the 45. I think that might be an interesting rule, because even the other day now in Thurles, I just have the facts here, like from the lads that were sending them on, for the radio or the telly. Like, they go, Tipp Cork went short, it was a 15 times, and Tipp went short, it was a 12 or 13 times. So like out of a total, you have a total puck outs there, like nearly 60% of the puck outs are short. And when I say when they're short, like that would be just outside the 21-yard line, maybe even inside a short. So that idea, lads, in my opinion, of maybe when you are going short, but you can't, the minimum you can go short is 45. I think that would also maybe increase the kind of maybe more 50-50s we get, maybe the excitement thing. It's been muted about the heavier slitter. I don't know what your opinion would be on that, making the slitter a bit heavier, or I'm sure that would be an idea as well. But I do really like the idea of, if it is a short puck out, going to the minimum 45 for it. And I just think as well, rather than the 4 point goal, I think the hand passing or lack of hand passing that's going on is probably a bigger issue right now as well, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I like a look at my view. I think it probably won't happen within the next 5 years, but it'll happen. Hand passing will be illegal in hurling in the future. It will, yeah. 100%. 100%. Like, it's not a game that was designed for that. It just isn't. There's a reason you run out onto the field with a weapon in your hand. It isn't, to hand pass the ball. And I think it'll probably take about 5 or 6 years, because these types of change, particularly in hurling, very, very conservative. Don't mess with our game. We have the best game in the world and all of that. So it'll be really slow to happen, but eventually it'll go to what the Conor O'Donovan suggestion was, which I think is a good one. You'll still be able to play a short ball, but the actual releasing from your hand with an extra contact, that'll be outlawed completely.
Okay, well, that's something to ponder maybe as we move forward. Just to mention as well, from the weekend, pretty significant results in Ulster hurling circles, where Down beat Antrim for the second time this year. Another late goal, the exact same way that they beat them in the league. So Down making some good strides there in the Joe McDonagh, and Carlow got the better of Laois as well in their all-Leinster clash in the Joe Mac as well. So just a brief maybe prediction, Shane, in terms of the weekend for Munster and Leinster. What are you thinking? Cork, Limerick and Waterford Tipp first in Munster?
Yeah, I think Limerick will win that match. I think just think they're so strong. Like, they got to watch everybody last week. That, like, is it a massive advantage? It is a bit of an advantage, but I just think they're coming into it in a great place. And as I said, Aaron Gillane keeps doing what Aaron Gillane is doing. There's just no marking him. So I'd be very interested to see Rory do Cork follow maybe an Aidan O'Connor this weekend, because is it the lesser of two evils? Like, to say, let Aidan O'Connor have a bit more ball, but we can't let Gillane get the same thing as he did in the league final. So I think that would be an interesting thing. But I'd go with Limerick. I think Tipp will be better. I think it has to be better. I think Waterford actually played well against Clare, and we're looking at to get that now of it. So they don't have to change too much. I think, a lot has to change for Tipp, but it just has to change in the form of the performance and in forms of the players and how they approach the game. So I think that will change, and it will change for the better for Tipp. So I'll go Limerick to beat Cork, Cathal, and I'll go Tipp just about to get the job done against Waterford.
Okay. Cork Limerick is the live game on the Sunday game from 2 o'clock. Kilkenny Wexford. Will Kilkenny have enough? Will they respond sufficiently?
It's very hard to say. I mean, I presume John Donnelly's suspended. Wouldn't he be? Like, was that a straight?
Yeah, I'd imagine straight. Like it was a straight rate he was showing. Like so I'd imagine,
you're down one player, like key player, ball winner. It's in Nolan Park, isn't it?
It's in Nolan Park.
Yeah. Like you would assume that Kilkenny will respond. They'll have probably gotten a lot of stick and a lot of local criticism. Be interesting to see what kind of crowd turns up for that. They're not the most exuberant bunch, the best of times. So, like, this is a time where you need your support now. So, will the Kilkenny crowd turn up? I think that'll be another interesting aspect to that. But you would assume that they will get that job done all right.
Okay. Dublin, Kildare and Galway Offaly, the other two games at Leinster this weekend. And as I said, Cork Limerick on the Sunday game on Sunday afternoon. Throw in for that one is at 2 o'clock. But for now, lads, thanks a million, Shane and Rory. Just before we go, reminder, you can get us on email, sportpodcasts@rte.ie, and you can like and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts as well. The football podcast with Nigel Dunn and Eamon Fitzmaurice is also in your feed today, and we'll talk to you from a hurling point of view again next Wednesday.
Possession crucial from this. How much longer will the referee allow? Dublin